one of the most inspiring experiences of the Guru's presence that I've had. I was living at the meditation retreat. Bharat and I were running the program, which is now called Living Discipleship. It was a month-long training program for new members, and after the program, people stayed and we lived together at the meditation retreat. It was like a little community of new people to Ananda. And Bharat was away at the time. I was in the kitchen getting dinner together for people, and the phone rang, and it was Swami Kriyananda, which is a part of the story that's like a little aside, but to me it was also part of it. I don't get that many calls from Swami Kriyananda. I wasn't in the meditation retreat kitchen that often, but there's the phone, it rings, and Swami shares some thoughts he's had with me about something. Okay, so afterwards I thought he could feel something about to happen, and that's why he called. So I hang up the phone, and I hear outside the dome what's called a borate bomber. These are small planes that drop fire retardant on around a fire so that the shrubbery around it won't catch fire. And whenever, if you've lived in the Sierras for a while, whenever you hear one of those planes, you immediately go outside to see, can you see smoke, can you see flames? So I ran outside, nothing. Couldn't see anything. Wyatt comes tearing through the kitchen. He's one of our members, tearing through the kitchen and goes outside and climbs a pine tree. And he comes running back in and he says the A-frame is on fire. The A-frame was a small little building, one of the first buildings built at Ananda. Very simple structure, and surrounded, very closely surrounded by shrubbery. In those days our fire clearing was a little bit lacking. Anyway, surrounded by shrubbery, and it's about 150 yards from the temple, the main dining room area, and so forth. And so he comes running in to call the fire department. The fire department, meditation retreat is way down a dirt road, so for the fire department to get to us was going to take about 15 minutes. But he called them immediately. I went running in the direction of the fire, which, you know, might not be the most intelligent thing to do, but anyway, that's what I did, and I felt like Master had something for me to see there. So I went running down this path, and what did I see but the A-frame was a torch. There was no wind whatsoever. It was blowing, the flame was going up like this. All the shrubbery around it was covered with fire retardant. And as I stood there, like 30 seconds after Wyatt came in to call the fire department, the volunteer fire department comes up with their hoses and all their equipment. They rush in and they put out the fire. Well, the whole thing was extremely mysterious to me. And as the evening progressed, the pieces came put together. First of all, one of our young kids up at the meditation retreat had just ridden her bike past that structure about 15 minutes earlier. The path goes right by the building. There was absolutely no sign of flames. She just rode up to the dining room for dinner. In the time after she passed, the building must have just exploded into flame. We don't know how. We think the most likely thing was that a mouse chewed the stuff that protects electric wires, and the electric wires, once the generator went on, just burst into flame and the whole thing went up. So she comes up, unbeknownst to us, because there's tall trees everywhere, so the smoke is going straight up. We couldn't see it. People are sitting on the porch and not knowing anything, that just like this major fire is like just a few feet away. Meanwhile, a borate bomber flies over the meditation retreat on its way to a fire in Downeyville. It sees this flame in between where its destination is and where it's going, and it phones the fire tower and says, there's a fire here, can I drop the borate right here? And of course they say yes, and of course they immediately contact the volunteer fire department. We're just clueless, we have no idea what's going on. And all this is happening. Dave Rishi had been sitting out on the deck with people, And they looked at this plane and somebody said, "Oh, is that a Bor-8 bomber?" And he was explaining to them why no, that wasn't a fire plane. And so we're rushing down there. So this plane drops that, the fire comes, and it's all put out. Well, I mean, the whole thing was over in minutes. And we were spending time afterwards dealing with things, the people who came home, who had lost their possessions in the fire. Within 2 weeks, they had everything returned to them by other people in the community, better clothes than they had before, a guitar, and so forth. But that evening, just, in the aftermath of the adrenaline and so forth, I just was lying there talking to Divine Mother about the split-second timing. It was just beyond belief how quickly everything happened, and so perfectly. The next morning, the Karma Yogis went out, the people went out during Karma Yoga session to clean up around the fire. And everything was gone, except for one thing. In the bushes, there was a piece of paper that was the frontispiece of Autobiography of a Yogi, the picture of Paramhansa Yogananda, neatly burned around the edges, sitting there in the bushes. Left his calling card. If you have any doubts about who is taking care of your life, that was our message.